Hello, everyone. So here we are once back. And today we have a very special person, both for me and for Abylight and also the industry, uh, which is Michael Devine, currently SVP of Business Development at Ziggurat Interactive. If you know anything about us, Ziggurat Interactive is the publisher of Prison Tycoon under new management, which is a game that Abylight is currently still developing, already in early access. And I think that there's like something like that it should. Oh, okay. I cannot do it. Okay, no problem. So I was trying to hit the the chat and tell you about our socials so you can check the game and all that stuff. But hopefully someone else can give us a hand on that. And yeah, no further ado. Let's say hi to Michael. Hello, Michael. Are you there? And give me a second. And yes, you are.
Yes, I am. I'm
How are
staring at
you?
myself. This is good. I'm very good. How are you?
Really excited. As I told you, this is like the intro into interviewing real people, like, well, not real people, but like serious people, people with a lot of track record, and very important people, SVP, VP, VIP, and all that stuff. So,
You can find them, and you decided to interview me. Okay, I get it. Yes.
of course, start by the beginning. So yeah. Um, well, if anybody has any questions, I know I have some questions from people for later on, and I just got confirmation that we're all set up. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. How did you got into the industry, you legend?
Well, I'm not a legend. Well, honestly, I graduated college so many years ago that there were rarely computers, and I did when I graduated in '82. There were really no computers on college campuses. I mean, there were like mainframes, and all I knew that kids would go there to write their term papers, the ones that were really into advanced technology. So I graduated in '82 having never seen a computer, basically. And a couple years out of school, I decided that I was such a bad typist that maybe I could get a computer so I could be a better typist. That was my reasoning. And that's just when the Mac came out. And so I bought a Mac, and I became fascinated with it. I mean, just everything about it, every like magazine I could get my hands on, any programs. But there were only two programs. There was a writing program and there was a spreadsheet the first year it was out. And then around the second year, they started producing games, and there was nothing else to do. I mean, that was it. You could write, the internet barely worked, but they had games. And so I started playing things like Zork and, interactive text adventures and little racing games. And I became obsessed. I mean, I looked at those games on those first computers as the wildest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And every Egghead Software, that was the big software people back then, a friend and I would wait like Friday afternoons when the new software would come out just to see if there was going to be a game. And we would grab it and like pizza and beer until 3 or 4 in the morning. We'd try to win or break it or solve it or do whatever it was. And at that point, I kind of looked at what I was doing, in like business development and like in kind of retail stuff. And I kind of went, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be involved in games. I am I'm crazy about this. I'm passionate about it, and it's really what I want to do. And it took me a couple of years of banging on doors before I could finally get a job in the game business. I mean, really a while. And I finally got a job working for a game distributor that sold like Nintendo. And they weren't primarily a game distributor. They kind of did it on the side. They kind of lucked into Nintendo distribution. And the owner came to me one day and said, you know, we're doing a lot of business here and we really need someone to manage it. And maybe you could manage this like game business for us. And I jumped at the chance. And where that happened, right around 1990, was the infancy of Sega Genesis, right before like the Neo Geo, right when the Philips CDI came out. And I grabbed all of it. I started working with all of them. And I increased the number of software people we worked with from just like one or two with the NES system to like 60. And suddenly I was just immersed in everything in the game business. And I was really fascinated by it. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. I loved the business of it. I loved the marketing of it. And really is that, you know, for me to go higher in my career or to expand it, I had to get out of distribution and really into the, you know, the game publishing aspect of it. And that took a few years. But eventually, um, I got an offer to join 3DO right around the launch of the hardware product. That was like 95. And as the Western regional salesperson, and there were like no accounts in the West. I don't even know why they hired me because all the big guys were you know Target and Toys R Us and Best Buy, and they were all like other parts of the country, but they hired me to do the West Coast. And long story short, I was there just under 7 years, and I kind of went up the ladder, and I wound up running all sales for the company. But it was a wild, wild ride because first it was the 3DO game system, and then we got into the 3DO game software business, which we didn't initially. Initially, it was all going to be third party people like you know EA and others, and but uh, but eventually, you know, we that didn't work. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the ability to compete with the Sonys and the Nintendos, and so we that business really kind of went away. But then, amazingly, the company reinvented itself, and 3DO became not the 3DO game system company, but the 3DO software development company, and we wound up having uh, over 1,000 employees and most of them in development. And in a 2 year period, we went from not publishing any software other than 3DO, then doing about $80 million in software business. You know, we had a little bit of luck along the way. There was a little thing called Army Men, which like exploded for us. We wound up doing like, I don't know, 20 games with that. But we did a lot of different games. We bought studios. We did all of that. But honestly, we never quite had the funding to be really competitive, to really get our messages out.
But hold on,
You know,
hold on. It's just that I
yeah.
just made a small question, and you're running all through my my
There you go. I'm
story.
sorry. I'm sorry. Let's break this up into smaller
No, no, it's
increments. My
okay. It's
bad.
okay. No, it's okay. But hold on. I mean, you said
Yes.
that 3DO got to be 1,000 people, and
Yeah.
I think Nintendo is kind of like a dad, right? I mean, I don't think they are more than 1,000 people, are they?
Well, so the question really underneath that is having 1,000 people in a development business a good thing? Because again, that you know, it didn't last and it went away. And in a nutshell, the overhead was killer. And when you have 1,000 people suddenly making, you know, software and everything else, you have to produce a lot of income to be able to support that. And if you can't produce that income, then that overhead becomes too much.
Yeah.
And kind of in a nutshell, that's the reason that 3DO couldn't be sustainable, is that it went really heavily into having direct ownership of all the development teams, external studios, everything. Its philosophy was really very, very little, next to none external development, everything being internal, because they believed they could control the quality, control the game creation, all aspects of that. But it came at a really high price. And the high price was that you needed hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of sales to support that. And at the end of the day, it couldn't do that, and that really is why it you know it didn't sustain itself.
But all these developers were not for the 3DO system, were they?
No, no, no. Yeah, the 3DO system went away. And that happened, right around, I don't know, I'm trying to think, 96 or so. So we were struggling. And then the first Christmas that the PlayStation 1 came out, I think between Nintendo and PlayStation, maybe the numbers are a little bit off, but they put about $50 million in fourth quarter advertising for those systems, the two different companies. And we had a budget of just a couple million. And so we couldn't support it. I mean, we couldn't compete with that. And by the end of that season, the writing was on the wall that we weren't going to survive. So that's when we switched to going into developing software for those systems rather than competing with them.
But it was a good system and it was a good initiative, right? Because it was a freer version of a console, right?
Well, the 3DO system was fantastic. I mean, but it was, and they did more than that. I mean, a 3DO was also very involved in the proliferation of advancing MPEG for video compression. Actually built one of the very first 64-bit game systems called the M2 that actually never wound up getting done. The technologists at 3DO were literally some of the best in the world. But 3DO never had manufacturing capability. It always had to rely on partners. Never could get the cost of production down somewhere to where the average consumer, until it was really, really late, could really buy a system like that. And then I think at the end of the day, you're talking about, I believe, I want to say it was a 32X CD-ROM, or maybe it was actually even less than that. But a lot of the games that were produced really needed the throughput for the data, and those first CDs just weren't fast enough. So there was a lot of lag in a lot of the games, a lot of really, really good games. So if they'd gotten to that next generation, if they'd gotten to that 64-bit design, I think it would have been a different story. But that's true with a lot of systems, right?
Mm.
It's sometimes they get a little bit ahead of the technology, and then suddenly a second or third generation comes out and people go, "Oh my God, this is amazing." But it
Yeah,
took a process to get there.
yeah.
3DO never really had the money to let that kind of a scenario play out.
The video. And but then it steers, so it relinquished all the investment and all the plans for the hardware, and then move it into the development for the killers of them or their baby, right? So
Well, yeah, I mean, we really were almost out of money, and we were able to sell the technology for the 64-bit design back to Panasonic, and also a couple our video technology also, I think we wound up selling to somebody else, and that was the seed money that created essentially the second birth of 3DO, which was as a dedicated software company. It was pretty significant. I mean, there was the thing about Trip Hawkins, the CEO of 3DO, is just a gaming evangelist of the first order. He could tell you his vision and be riveting for hours. There was nothing casual about it. And Tripp had an amazing vision of what gaming could be, and what a console system could look like. And it was just leagues beyond what other people were thinking at the time. But, people eventually catch up, and honestly, you had to have an enormous amount of money to be in that game.
yeah,
But I will tell you, um, there wasn't a day of that almost 7 years that I regretted. I loved every second of it, because I was surrounded by not just Trip or not just a few people, but hundreds and hundreds of people that went to work daily with an utter passion for gaming, an utter passion for the place they were at and what they wanted to produce. And more than anything else, that was the takeaway for me from that experience, is surround yourself with people that just are so passionate and so happy to be where they are and do what they're doing. That's one of the recipes for success in your life and in business.
yeah. That's, I would say that that's the goal of any At least our team. I mean, this is part of the interview process to get anybody on board. They have to be passionate about, of course, their what they do, but also video games, right? Because if you're not kind of like passionate about, I was gonna say in love, but in love might be too much. Not so many people are so in love, but definitely passionate, really, really passionate about video games. It's gonna be very hard to withstand the hardships of it, of the
Well,
creation.
one of the things I found, or that I found to be a fallacy, was when I left 3DO. Um, I assumed that
Everybody
the
is
size of the company didn't matter, and that there would be passion everywhere, and that that was just part of the game business. And as I went through the next part of my career, what I realized was, at least for me, I'm not saying it's 100% true, is that the bigger the environment, the less passion there is, because there's so much overhead, there's so many other decisions that have to be made, and that you still can have passion, but passion is now in particular places within the business or particular divisions or maybe a particular development, which is great. But for me, and one of the reasons I chose a more independent path for most of the rest of my career, is I need to feel that passion the minute I walk in the door, and on every desk I step at and everyone I talk to, who we just want to do the best possible job we can to get that gaming product out the door, and we want to believe in it. And no, not every, that is just not 100% of every company I've ever come across in our business.
no, you know that, of course, a completely different scale, but I had also kind of like the same experience. The first company that I joined, they were all self-taught. There were no universities, teaching video game development or creation or production or anything. So all the people that I worked with, I was in the administrative administration department, and obviously everybody else was developing. They were 90% were self-taught, and I thought that the passion, the commitment, the everything for video games, it was like a given. And no, no, that's why it's part of the interview process. Because
Yeah.
not everybody is passionate. A lot of people, care for the money, or for, I don't know, right now it even has some sort of glamour or karma to cool karma, or cool effect to work in the industry. When I joined, there was none really. We, you
Well,
know,
and that honestly, one of the things over the last 25 years that has really changed, and I think it's changed for the way better, is the access to the tools to be in this business. The bar has really lowered. So you can be a game developer. You can make a game, and you don't have to have $1 million and 15 people. I mean, it might change the scope of the game, it might change the genre, it might change all sorts of things. But one thing is, now the bar for anyone who's really, really passionate, they can start. They can just start making games. And I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls. It's not easy, but it used to be you had to work for one of these companies, because if you didn't, you just couldn't have access to the tools that you needed. But now the tools are readily available, and a lot of them are actually available for free. So now the passion, really is a motivator in getting started. The business side can kill you. The distribution side might kill you, but not your ability to get in the door. You actually have a lot of control on your ability to get in the door and be in this business now.
that's there's a lot of talk regarding that. Precisely, there's a lot of people that ask, how can I get into the industry? So that's why it's a question, right? Especially so long ago. How did you get, like in my case it was an accident, yours was a decision, a really thought decision, and push, strive to get into, right? I only have one question regarding the first part of your story. Is you never went to arcades?
Well, Okay, as long as my mom's not watching right now, I will say, yes, of course I went to arcades. I went to a
Okay.
lot of arcades. Oh my God, yes.
Okay, because you didn't like.
No,
There's no
no, I just,
mention of arcades. You just went
yeah, well,
straight
because,
to
yes,
computer gaming.
I think the reason I didn't mention it. No, honestly, I think if it wasn't for Atari Tempest, I would have graduated with a much better GPA in college, quite honestly. I mean, yeah, oh my God. Especially in college, I was playing Missile Command, I was playing Centipede, eventually I was playing Tempest, and a quarter then was like worth, I don't know, more than a quarter. And I was like pumping those things in like no tomorrow. But I will tell you this. I never thought I wanted to get into the arcade game business. I never thought about that. I just
Interesting.
was like I was just like a young guy who loved playing games, right? There was something about being on the Mac at home playing these games with a wonderment, right? That I had never experienced anywhere. I didn't have a wonderment about arcade things. I accepted they were there. I accepted I was a player and it was wonderful, but that was the extent of it. With video games, almost from the
Interesting.
beginning, there was just a feeling of like, how does this work? And like where but the way I interact with it is so much more interesting and challenging than just having a controller at an arcade. I felt very differently about it. So, that's the reason.
So, okay, just a bit of exploration. So, would you feel like an arcade where like something made somewhere else, like it's a box and you just interact with the box as a player, right? But with computer, you felt more like maybe I could do this, or maybe I could be part of it, and that's what
Well,
also attracted you.
yeah, I guess without going into the heavy psychology, because then I would have to pay you a lot of money, is that even like, today in the US in today, right? You can go into like bowling entertainment centers. We used to call them bowling alleys. And all of them now, half the experience is just like a million arcade machines, right? From just, things that you interact with, that you dance with, that you shoot with, that you have to get into something and have this immersive experience. And I've always felt on a pretty basic human level like I'm going to some place to experience something and I'm having fun and I really like that. But the minute I walk out the door, the experience for me is left behind the door, right? With a video game system that you have in your house, that's like, it's part of your family almost. It's in your den. It's part of your television. You choose whether you're going to sit there for a half hour or that your wife comes at 3 in the morning and tells you to turn it off because it's too loud. It's this integrated part of your life, and that hasn't changed. From like my playing, Strategic Conquest Plus on the Mac to, playing on Switch or PlayStation today, that immersive experience that can go on for as short or long a time as you want, to me, that's a fundamentally different experience than going out someplace to have an experience.
Well, it is. Of course, it is. I mean, even if it's the same person that goes out to play or interact, even nowadays, even with your phone, right? You expect different things from different devices. Even if it's the same game, you expect it to react differently depending on the platform that you're playing. But yeah, yeah, I agree. So you felt it was part of the family, so you can actually interact in a deeper level than with an arcade, which is
I don't even know if it's part of the family. It was definitely part of me. I mean, it's part of the me, the way I like to interact with things. I tend to be all or nothing. I mean, it's either like I'm not interested or I want so much of the ice cream I'm going to get sick. So for me, video games were always like the ice cream. I always just wanted more and more and more. And it it doesn't change. I mean, I definitely, I'm about 2 times a week, I find myself like at 1:30 in the morning still playing games and like forcing myself to go to bed because once I'm in the experience, I don't want to do a 15-minute version. I want to do an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. So this kind of, so video games were always part of the kind of way I like to be entertained.
so. Are you currently still like probably during? your kids being a small, maybe that changed a bit, but are you currently doing that kind of behavior? Like, are you staying
My
up?
kids are I have three kids, three beautiful children, and they're all grown and they're terrible disappointments to me because honestly, not one of them really likes video games. They don't like it. They're like, and my youngest, which is my son, he's like a college junior, and like I'll have to beg him to the point of tears to like play co-op with me on something so I can earn a trophy or do something. And it's like, Dad, I need to study. And I'm like, oh, come on, just come just do it for a half hour. It's like, yeah, it's like role reversal. It's really I think I'm not a good father. I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm the only one in my entire family that actually
That's
is
so
into video
weird.
games. It's really weird.
Maybe they
Some,
don't feel passionate about the industry, but maybe because they suffered. I don't know.
oh my
Like
God,
you
they
being
suffered.
away or
Oh my
something?
God. Really, I really, they suffered. They did not suffer.
No?
Um, Someone named Play Ziggurat, who I think is my company. Which game have you put the most hours into? So,
Yeah, I was gonna ask it, but it's too.
well, I just say
No, no, go ahead.
in pure hours, even though I really don't play it anymore, I actually think, WoW was there were thousands and thousands of hours in World of Warcraft. There were just a ridiculous amount. So, I think for regular, non-massively multiplayer, I always gravitated. I really like me personally, RTS, quite a bit. And I know I did an interview recently, and I was talking about Heroes of Might and Magic 3, which is that's a passion game for me because I grew really close with the guys at New World Computing because they were bought by 3DO, and I wound up spending a lot of time with them. But I would definitely say that the Diablo series, 1, 2, and 3, in my PC days, that was a crazy amount of time. I mean, people tell you they can finish a game like in 6 hours or something like that. Yeah, if you had a couple zeros, that's about how long it takes me. But also because I don't want to rush through it. It's like reading a great book. I want it to last as long as possible. And I have to admit, on Switch, I've spent more time on Switch with old PC games, I think, than I have with almost anything else, which is bad. I don't think it's good, but I do like my experiences and I do like to relive them.
I actually never ever. I played since arcades a lot. I don't recall names and all that stuff, but I never understood that passion of finishing game. I actually had to go into working in the industry to learn that you could actually finish a game. Probably because Spectrum games or those games that were like endless difficulty that you weren't supposed to finish. That's I apply
Right.
that to everything. So yeah, I don't play to finish really. I just play to for the enjoyment of it, not So yeah, like taking it easy. I If I enjoy a level or something, then it's good for me.
Yeah, I don't even finish 10% of the games I play because a lot of times they're either too hard or the twitch factor is like way too difficult for me. I've never been good at anything which needs superior hand-eye coordination. But no, I mean there are some games where I just want to get to the end of the story and I'll really work at it. But like everything else that entertains you, like a book, a movie, record, whatever, you always get to some point typically where you just think, yeah, I'm done. I'm good. And that happens with games all the time. I'll be passionate about it for a while and then you suddenly finish a level or get to a certain place and you go, okay, that was fine. That was good. What's next? And I'm done. I once I'm done, I don't usually go back.
So Elmo 504 is asking, what's the game that you've put off playing the longest? And I guess why?
That's a really good question. God, I don't have a quick answer for that. Maybe by the time we're done, I will. I will
Sure.
say, um, I will say I'm very weird about spending 60 or $70 for a game. I don't like it. It feels too expensive to me. And with the exception of Pokemon, I would pay $1 million to play any next Pokemon game. I've been playing them since I was in Game Boy Color, right through every iteration. In fact, the only reason I got a 3DS initially was because the new Pokemon come out, and I really wanted to play it. Um, and talk about games that go on forever. It goes on forever, and I don't care. I really, really like it. But I would say there's probably something there that right now is like 60 or $70, and I'm thinking, God, that'd be really, really fun to play, and I just don't want to spend that much money.
So you wait until it's discounted.
I guess I wait until it's on sale somewhere for 39 bucks, and then and then
Well,
I
that's
buy
not
it. But
bad. Still.
yeah, I don't know. There's lots of different genres that uh I think I haven't played very much JRPG, and I really want to. And maybe I'm afraid that I'm going to get immersed, and then it's just going to be another thing that sucks years out of my life. But there's certain genres I feel pretty good about. It took me a really long time to play. What's the Sony racing game that like they come out once every like 5 years, and it's like the best thing ever. It's God, I can't think of the name. I've got 15 people here. Someone tell me the name of that. What? Oh, Gran Turismo. There it goes. And I got it. Okay, I win. What do I win? I just got Gran Turismo. So Gran Turismo, yeah, that was one that I took a really long time to buy, and once I bought it, I thought it was amazing. I could never get anywhere near finishing it or getting all the cars or finishing all the tracks, but I loved it.
So Elmo 504 says that thank you. He or she prizes himself or herself on the quality of her questions. And on that note,
Good.
he has not touched TLOU.
I don't know what that is.
Me neither. Anyway,
Okay.
and then Edgar Allan Poe, I think for me that it's Ocarina of Time. Oh, The Last of Us.
Oh, The Last of Us. Okay,
Uh,
cool. Yes, I
Thank
have
you.
looked at that, but I haven't played it.
We're really bad with acronyms
I
too.
know. Yeah, thank
So
you.
for Edgar Allan Poe is Ocarina of Time. So many people want him. Edgar is guys play it. I just don't want to. Have you played Ocarina of Time?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm going to sound really
Zelda.
stupid. That's one of the Zeldas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played one of the Zeldas. I played the, okay, so here's an interesting fact if you're me. The first game I ever finished was Zelda on NES. That's the very first one I finished. And I was so proud that I finished it. I had no one to tell. There was no like internet, there was no social media. My wife really didn't care, but I finished it and I felt a sense of satisfaction that was really, really deep. And I really enjoyed it. And then I played another one on the 3DS. All I remember is I had to blow in the microphone to blow out candles. Um, and I thought that was fun.
Yeah,
But I
Nintendo
didn't finish it.
trying to
Yeah.
optimize or to make use of all the hardware pieces that the machine had. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
we're
say something that it's very unpopular. Like, we have a big fan of the Zelda games in the company. Uh, he's blown like hundreds of hours on the Switch. I don't remember the names of the Zeldas honestly, but I tried the first one and I could not see the point of it really. So never
you tried the
been.
NES. You tried the NES
Yeah,
Zelda,
yeah.
and you didn't like it?
No, I didn't. I didn't. It's like, why is this funny or fun? Not funny but fun. Yeah, I'm a yeah. Not for me. So
Well,
it's
thanks for having me
very.
on today. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, that's yeah. I know that it's very unpopular, in my opinion, but yeah. And then yeah, I know that you've gained a lot of fans because of the Pokemon devotion, because
Oh my. Okay.
it's like a religion, Pokemon. I'm not, but it is kind of like a religion. They like share
Yeah.
all what's happening, and the news, and the it's like, oh my god, these people. And we have quite a few in the team that are like very, very, very um, fanatics of Pokemon. It's like thousand, well, maybe not thousand, but a lot. And
I'm
Elmo
kind
Five Hundred Four is saying that in Eva's defense, the NES Zelda is pretty opaque for newcomers. Yeah, I didn't get the chance to develop a taste for it. And
It's
Numu,
okay. It's fine. Some people like Mike Tyson's Punch Out on NES. I've never quite figured that one out. So there's always popular games that people just don't necessarily want or get. But that's the beauty of games.
yeah,
Games are just like books, right? Nobody reads every book, and you might like a book and your best friend might not, and it's okay, right? The fact is you like it. So,
that's. I think that's the first time that I feel like the comparison between books and video games is like super positive, because nobody expects someone to like criminal novels or crimi novels and biology
right,
discourse.
right.
Nobody expect that, but in video games feels like if you're in the video game industry, you're supposed to like whatever the top 10 is, and if not, you're the weird in the weird bunch.
No,
So it's, no, don't you feel like there is a bit of that?
But yeah, you know what, but honestly, to me that kind of speaks back to indie game development, and what's so amazingly special about it is like okay, so guilty pleasure, and I realize everyone's going to leave immediately, but I've always kind of liked Fortnite. I kind of like Fortnite. I don't know, kill me, whatever. I kind of like Fortnite. I don't like Call of Duty that much. I don't like anything too realistic when it comes to like shooting things. It's just not my cup of tea. But Fortnite, I kind of get. And but here's the thing, right? You have a game like that, so much of the game is building elaborate 3D models. So much of the game is just changing out one element for a new dressing of some kind or slight variation on a level design. And that's fun, but at the heart of it, it's all about inspiration and design and storytelling. And sometimes when you take a lot of the elaborate tools away, and that's what happens with a lot of indie development, you get back to that really unique feeling of telling the story that you want to tell in gaming. And that's what feels genuine. And that's what's amazing about the indie game movement is it's not $30 million development, because when you build a monolith for $30 million, you're a slave to that. You're a slave to not breaking any internal rules that you've created in how that game works. But in indie, you might look at it, you might look at a way that they're doing a visual and you're going, wow, that's like really simplistic. But then you start playing it and you go, God, this is really fun. And that's because they nailed the concept, they nailed the narrative, they nailed what they're doing. And that's really the heart of it, right? It's not whether the book's 500 pages or 5 pages. It's what are you doing with the pages that you're giving to people?
Yeah.
And that's why I have gravitated like I said, most of my career towards the smaller companies where that creativity can really shine.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I always say that, before the indie scene kind of erupted and happened thanks to digital distribution that made it possible, where creators could access the market and made it viable for a smaller audience with a smaller budget. Now you can, so before there was like these five genres. There was sports, shooting, cars, and I don't know. I can only come up with three right now, but it was very monolithic. And now it's like you can have anybody should have a game of its liking, because the the range has opened up so much. It's so wide. There's almost a game for you. Almost feels like it's not like that, but almost could be, right? So yeah, I'm also very motivated and excited about the indie industry um, being as powerful and as it keeps growing. It's not, although
Right.
recently with all the movements, that's yeah. Let's talk a bit more about you before moving into the merger and acquisition
I'd
that's
love for you.
happening in
Let's talk about
the
something else.
in the industry. No. Let's talk about, so after 3DO, you went to what?
TDK. Yeah.
TDK.
A little company. It had been a company, a little small gaming company in the Valley, and TDK Media, the TDK tape people, actually got involved and wound up buying the studio and changing it to TDK Media Active. And I got the position right after like the seventh round of layoffs at 3DO when we were like disintegrating. And I went over there. I was there for 2 years. That was really interesting and for me really fun because unlike 3DO, that I think in all the years I was there, I only was involved with like one licensed product, a game called Cubics. Um, TDK's whole model was on licensed product. So there we were working with Disney properties and DreamWorks properties and Marvel properties and it was a whole different experience. Even though it was a relatively small company, development was different because we had more partners and more input and more rules. And we struggled, but what was really funny was, and that's when GBA, Game Boy Advance development was kind of a really big thing still on Nintendo. Um, we got this one property and what's interesting was that I think EA had first rights on this DreamWorks property, and um, and EA didn't want to make this Game Boy game, so they passed on it. And somehow it went to I'm trying Activision, I think, and Activision passed on it. They didn't want it either. They didn't think it was going to be any good. They didn't want it. So the license became available. And our CEO, who was very nimble at sort of knowing these things and finding out who was partnering with who, he wound up for a really tiny amount of money getting the license for us at TDK. And we were able to make this Game Boy game. So you're probably going, well, what game? What title? What movie? Well, the game was called Shrek Kart Racing, and it was the first Shrek game. And we sold more of that game, I think, than any other game we ever produced combined. And it was a huge hit for us. And it really it made our company sustainable for like an entire year. And but then, we had a lot of others that didn't do as well. We we had one Dinotopia. It was based on a TV show on ABC, and yeah, it didn't. I don't know if we sold 8 copies. I really am not sure. But and we also did an Aquaman game, but the Aquaman game didn't really have any shooting in it, and that didn't work out really. That didn't work out really well. But we did a couple other things. Okay, we revised the Robotech franchise, which was a big anime uh, series that had been around, I think, in the 80s, and we wound up being able to do cross-platform development on that, and we did pretty well on that. But that was at a time when TDK kind of realized they didn't want to be in all these other businesses. They just wanted to be in the tape business, and so they wanted to sell the company, and they wound up selling it to Take-Two,
Oh,
and so quite a few of us no longer had positions there. So it was a short run, but super interesting, and honestly taught me a lot about licensing development that I didn't know, and it was actually kind of fun. And I learned a lot, and even working with Ziggurat today, all these years later, some of the lessons I learned in licensing just from that little stay at TDK have stuck with me. So everywhere you go, every stop along the way, there's something new you can learn
yeah.
and something new you can take away, and it makes you better at doing what you do.
Absolutely. So Nuru saying that negotiating for IP licensing with Harmony Gold must have been an experience.
Oh, now you're going to bring Harmony Gold into it. Okay, fine. So yes, that was Robotech. Um, Honestly, and I didn't do the negotiation with Harmony Gold. Our CEO did. I just by that time I was running sales and marketing for the company, so I wanted they wound up meeting them. They were a relatively small company at the time, and they had this license, and we were like I think the only ones that were really down with the video game development. So they were actually really nice to work with. I don't have anything negative to say about them. Also, one of the head creative guys there um, actually was working on a revitalization of a comic book character slash old television show that was a passion for me. I've spent 25 years trying to make a game series with Gigantor, and and they actually did Gigantor, and I never could swing or have yet found a way to do a series based on that. The Iron Giant is basically that story. It's a boy and his gigantic robot. It was based on a Japanese uh, 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 television and game series called I think I can't I'll horribly do the name, but Setsune 28, I believe. I actually got it right over here on my shelf. But anyway, so yeah, but we never could do that, but we did Robotech, and the game was actually pretty well received.
So all these seems kind of like big. It's not indie. Because when would you say was your first experience of going into a more indie with well, nothing
Well,
going more
yeah, I
indie?
mean, TDK started out kind of with a big indie feel, like I don't think maybe 20, 25 people. At the end of that 2 year period, it actually gotten a lot bigger. Um, it's interesting. There was a portion of my career where I wasn't doing game development. I was doing art outsourcing for games,
Mm-hmm.
um, working with a couple different companies for that. Also, I worked with a small company for about 2 years that was trying to do a kids social media platform, and that was really interesting and super, super small. But really, where I started to get my real teeth into what you would probably call a real indie feel was with the company right before Ziggurat, was where I spent like 6.5 years with Tommo.
Mm-hmm.
In Tommo, they when I joined them, they had the Neo Geo Mini game system, and they had just launched it, and I came on as a marketing consultant, and that was okay. That was fine. That was really interesting, actually. Uh, and then right at the end of it, when it was kind of done, the owner of the company came to me and said, "Hey, we just made a major purchase from Atari when they were going through bankruptcy, and had acquired. I can't remember how many titles. It was a ton. It was over 100 titles, and he wanted to create a business model with that because he felt, and he really had a really good understanding, I think, of where the business was going. This was like now 8 years ago, 9 years ago, was he really thought the future of it would be in digital. He thought instead of like trying to figure out how to get this stuff on game systems and making physical copies, he really thought what we could do is do it digitally. And so I spent years of my career at Tomo, you know, creating and working with the branding we did. We created a division called Retroism, which was just based on retro gaming, and it was actually pretty successful. We actually got some people to actually do publishing with us through the Retroism brand. But then the other thing, and it's actually one of the things I'm most proud of in my career, is we acquired the rights to virtually all Atomo of the Humongous Entertainment games. And at the time, when Atari had them, they were being used as just catalog. Just anybody who needed extra games, they would do deals and just throw these humongous games out without any branding, just kind of like old kids games. And so we looked at it, And we work with another indie studio, Night Dive Studios, who also, Stephen Kick, the CEO there, had absolute passion for humongous games. And we reinvented the brand. We brought Humongous Entertainment back as a brand. And working with Night Dive, we were able to bring initially to Steam and eventually a whole lot of places over 20 of the games back. And the response was amazing. The people, the kids from the 80s and 90s who loved these games with an unbelievable passion were just they were insane that these games were back. And I don't want to talk about any of the sales because I'm not with Tommo anymore, but I will say this. We had a collection on Steam, they probably still do, which was all of the games that we had, and I think eventually it got to be about 32 of the humongous games for $100. And it was the best selling SKU we had all the time I was there. That's just how in love people were and still are with the humongous brand and the humongous roots. And I mean, truth be told, I've been in the business a long time. I'm closer to the end than the beginning. And, you know, dealing in the retro space and bringing people back to the things that they knew and loved and giving them the best version of it is now something I'm really passionate about. And it was really great at Tomo to live through that experience. And then, Ziggurat was just an explosion by a factor of doing more of the same. But I'm not going to say better, but I'm going to say like a lot differently and with some really amazing results.
Yeah, we finally made it to current times. Well, what do you want? It's a very long career, and we actually just, yeah, like went really, really fast. Through it. Like we're missing a lot of steps in between. Yeah, you've explained just a little bit. I mean, I had a question for the Tomo period because that's when we
Sure.
got to know each other,
Yeah.
and 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 yeah, one of the feats that Tomo has is launching 120 games on Steam, right? So that just the number, even if it's independently of the quality of the game, just the project, it's crazy amount of work. So how did you manage that at Tomo? Like, did you research the market, or how was the concept of doing 120 titles on Steam?
Do you mean Tomo or Ziggurat?
Tomo.
Which one do you mean?
Tomo, don't you have like 100? Didn't Tomo launch 120 games on Steam?
We might have. I know in the last 2 years we've launched 114 on Ziggurat. So
Okay.
the numbers are really
Okay.
close.
You know,
Yeah.
there is
So
that
they're so
saying that
yeah.
goals are all,
So
are
they're very
there to be
different paths.
beaten. So
Yeah. Yeah.
114. Oh wow, great.
Yeah.
Then both companies.
Yeah. Well, they were very different paths. So with Tomo,
Approaches to
yeah, with
publishing.
Tomo, we had key partners.
Okay.
And Night Dive was definitely a key partner for us and was able to bring more than half of those to the marketplace. And then we had to get very creative and very strategic in how we got the additional titles, to market. Um, Ziggurat wasn't as fundamentally different in that from the get-go, everything about our organization was really geared around bringing these classics back. And right from the Retro First Friday project that's still ongoing today, where we're releasing, new legacy games every month on PC, to doing, things like our Blood Rain series or Boy and His Blob or other series across, multi-platform, to even reimagining IPs that we own, which is basically how we got together on Prison Tycoon. These all come from a very singular place of basically believing in retro gaming, believing in the worth of these games, to the audiences that they're meant for, and that know that those audiences love and care and revere these games that have been a part of their gaming experience sometime for a generation, and trying to give them within reason the best possible experience that we can. It's more than just publishing, right? So for us, it really is a passion. We have a very small company, but we both have internal and external production. So, which was different than my previous experience. So part of our company literally is geared towards getting, especially a lot of our retro First Friday games, out the door with predominantly internal resources, internal producers, internal, working on the kinds of things we can do in the games without having to go back and actually, bring them, let's say, to modern platforms. PC, like through DOSBox, other things is a really great way for us to bring, the games in. But where this experience is different for me is, through Wade Rosen, who was our founder. The vision is not just to acquire games and then, throw them in the market. The vision is really to make the games work on modern platforms, enhance them in any way we can with the tools that currently exist, create better versions like HD versions where that's possible, as much as possible with the original developers. We work with Terminal Reality on the original Blood Rain games. We work with Way Forward on some of the Blood Rain Betrayal games, plus A Boy and His Blob, that we're doing a lot of really interesting things with. We've done some additional acquisition where, again, we're working with those original developers, to something like a Prison Tycoon, where we inherited a really popular brand, but when we looked at the gameplay, we felt like the gameplay didn't measure up to the how the fans felt about the games, the legacy games. We felt that maybe, prison's a really hard topic. And we felt that the way that those games were done might have been acceptable back in the day, but they weren't going to be acceptable today. That if we were going to do a game based on incarceration or prison, it really had to be fundamentally different, and it had to speak about that experience in a way that made sense for where people are today with like really important and sensitive topics. So we decided to basically reimagine that IP. That's the first time we've ever done that so far, is to actually say, hey, let's take let's take the basic IP, but let's make a different game. And one of the reasons that we went to you guys with the project was because, how creative and how passionate you are. And a lot of people say a lot of people are passionate, but there's a very particular reason why with Prison Tycoon, your passion was really important to us, because that passion also has an honesty. And we knew you wouldn't just make the game to make the game. We knew that you would only make a game that you felt good about, that you felt had the right messaging, and that you felt was worthy of not just our brand, but your brand. And with a game like Prison Tycoon, that was an absolute. If we couldn't do that, we weren't gonna make the game. So, and that's just part of the ethos of who Ziggurat is. That those are the kind of decisions that we make. So, so we're pretty happy with the result, but more importantly, we're incredibly happy with the partnership.
Yeah, likewise. No, it's true. It's like it's taken us like a long, long life and career to find a partner that. Oh, are you there? The camera. What? What? Hold on. Ah, okay. You're back. It went black for a split second. Um,
It often happens when I talk.
no, actually, I was supposed to be. No, but it's what I was saying is that we've been at it for so long,
Yeah.
even before Abylight, and it's taken a while to find a partner for us at least. I don't know. I cannot talk about everybody else, right? But for us to find a partner that really feels and understand, and as I also told to Wade that. You see that respect, that value, that it's a partnership. It's not like I'm trying to be on top, and I don't know, this that respect of the creator and of one another, of I am here to develop the best game that I can, or that I know, or that that it's gonna push us further, and you're here also for the same thing, so with the same goals and the same, so yeah, I mean, I already talked about our partnership in our other streams, and I already told you and Wade, how I see the relationship, and it's I would say the best relationship that we've ever had, um, publisher developer, for me, for sure, because you know there is that old school uh, view, but at the same time, or respect, or whatever. I don't know how to express it, but like, it's not just, I don't know. It's just great. It's really good. Like, no, but it's yeah. It's, my words fail me to maybe convey what I mean, but the point is that Ziggurat is a company that has a strong point on retro gaming and bringing retro games to the present day and to the present audience, to new platforms that weren't available, but also invest into creating new games, new iterations, new, right? As we had your, actually, Ziggurat's video here, right? Your logo, your what's the name of it? The motto is a new and old video game company, right?
I,
So it's totally agree. And one of the questions that I actually have is, how do you balance, or if you can talk about it, right? How do you balance in the strategy of Ziggurat, that bringing all those games as they were versus creating new games based on maybe old IPs, like we done with Prison Tycoon under new management? If you have any
well, first
plans.
off, I want to say, because I know there's like a dozen people here that have been here like the entire hour. My family won't listen to me that long, so I feel I feel really good about the fact that you guys have stayed. Um, the so yeah, that could, it's a really interesting question. I think it there's several filters. And I think the first filter is, and we look at any game and we kind of look at what path that game is going to have. Is number one, if we can just bring it to the market so people can experience it close to the way they originally experienced it originally, is that gaming experience going to be good and positive? Are they going to feel good about playing that original game? And in some cases, whether it's just having the not having the source code or the platform that it was built on, sometimes the answer is no. It's not going to live up to it. And so then we have to actually look at, do we want to do something with the IP above and beyond, uh, just getting the game out, because that's not going to work. The other, and that's harder. It's harder unless the IP is really strong, right? The game's fan base. But the other way is just from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense for us to release the game in its original form and see what the response is, see what people are saying, see what they like and what they don't like. And then from there, we either have put some enhancements in, or we can add enhancements. A lot of times, even without code, sometimes the visualization
Oh no, we're having
fix
we're having
underlying.
issues on my end. Sorry.
Oh,
You were
okay.
saying, sorry, I think it cut off a bit. You were saying that you're checking the response of the audience, and sometimes you add some fixes, some enhancements.
Yeah, it's basically yeah, exactly. So I was just simply saying that we have a process where we try to bring the games out in the most original versions we possibly can. And then, based on the feedback that we get from people, then we will look at either enhanced versions, typically with higher resolution, sometimes fixing issues that originally existed in the game that were never fixed. It's amazing how often that happens. And then, all the way to full restorations, where we are going back in and we're actually fixing code, changing code, or maybe even adding to it. And then finally, reimagining. And so I know it's been really interesting. The Blood Rain series, um, it was fairly orphaned when we got it. It was just kind of, it was sitting on console, sitting on PC. There wasn't a lot happening with it. There had been, like I said, some ongoing issues that had never been addressed. It had never been brought, to the right resolutions, or even just for modern monitors, any of that stuff. And so we went back to the original partners. In this case, it was both Terminal Reality and Way Forward, and we asked them, can you make a better version of the existing games? And these were processes that took 6 to 8 months. And that's the releases that people are seeing now. We're really excited next week on the I think on the 18th. Let me check my calendar. This is going to sound like a shameless plug. We will be releasing Blood Rain and Blood Rain 2 revamped, which are these enhanced versions of the original two games on Switch, on Xbox, and on PlayStation. And we're really, really excited because I think it's been like, I don't know, 18 years or something since the original versions of these played on legacy consoles quite some time ago. So we're super excited about that. And the question we get all the time is, when are you going to make new games? When are you going to do new Blood Rain? When are you going to do new Boy and His Blob? When are you going to do a new Crush, Kill, and Destroy? Um, and the answer is, we're working on all of it. We are working on all of it. We remember, we're only 2 years old. We just learned how to walk. You just have to give us some time. But these new versions are a process to where, as long as we're getting support from the fans and we're seeing the right path in development, you will see more and more from us. And just like Prison Tycoon was a reimagining or an all new version, expect you're going to see more of that on our top IPs. And also expect that the relationship between Ziggurat and Abylight is going to continue into the foreseeable future, because we love working with Eva and Abylight and the entire team, and we plan to continue.
That's awesome. That's a contract right now. We have proof now. There's cameras. This is recordings now. It's okay. Yeah, I know. I feel likewise. I mean, it's a pleasure, really. I mean, from the developer point of view. I mean, working with it, just the respect. If some people might not understand what it means, but when you are a professional and you have experience, and your opinion is not like, your opinion has some sort of value or some sort of something, right? And you're a creator, which, being a developer, most of the team members are, well, everybody is, right? So it is very, very comforting having, a partner that understands the process, understands the hurdles, and supports you. I mean, I don't think that a developer creator could ask for anything else, and that's why we are so happy working with Ziggurat, because they really do care about the games, obviously about the people that made them, and that has to get to the audience, the players, and the whole community. And as you said, it is just a 2-year-old company, but I would say that it has a bright future ahead. And okay. So Nuru here was saying that verbal contract established. So, yeah.
What
Um,
Noru?
I was streaming every week for a couple of months, and he was always there. I only had like one person listening to my rants, and this was the most loyal and attentive listener to my Twitch, and he's always had exactly
Very good.
really always questions, comments. So there were days that I felt like, oh my god, why am I doing this? And he was always there having a comment, or so.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
very nice. Yes.
I am running it. I am running
Yeah,
up now
I
against the
know.
next thing I have to
Okay, I
do.
have
Uh,
short
yeah.
questions, and that would be the end of that. Because I think that
Okay.
very swiftly we've run through your work experience, and I have lots of questions to ask. But these are going to be fast questions, okay?
Okay.
So, what is your favorite classic game and why?
Well, I just said in another interview like 48 hours ago that it's Heroes of Might and Magic 3,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say it still is Heroes of Might and Magic 3. It's turn-based strategy. I know a lot of people who worked on it. I've played it for hundreds of hours, but for me personally, it's very hard to separate games from the people who make them when I know the people who make them. And New World Studios was one of the most magical places that I ever spent with the developers, really have a passion for what they did, and so it'll always have a special place in my heart.
As a retro lover, how many hours did you spend playing arcades? Can you quantify them?
Well, outside of college, I would say probably less than 100 hours. In college, I would say 4 years continuously.
Sorry. Okay. Marble or DC?
Oh, you people. Oh, you people. So everybody who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with Batman
Oh,
because
oh.
number one, he doesn't have special powers. Number two, he's like a billionaire, and I've always wanted to be a billionaire. So it's really, I guess it's not really DC or Marvel, it's Batman.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
I'm Batman. Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Nice. Are books better than movies?
They're different and they really can't be judged against each other. There are so many books that have been so important to me in my life, especially younger in my life, that there nothing can take their place. But video games has been the constant foreground and background of my entire adult life. So I don't know. I guess games, but really they're not the same. Can't judge them.
I said movies.
Oh, you said movies? Oh, you said movies are games?
Yeah, because there's that saying that when you watch a movie and it's based on a book, they say, "Oh, the book is better." So that was actually it was a.
So the thing is, if you look behind me, you'll see a little red brick there. That's all my Switch games.
Mm.
Every other thing behind me is a movie.
Oh.
And it goes way more than this. There's another three shelves like that of
Okay,
movies.
got it.
So I won't answer the question, but I think if you just look at the
Without your
picture, the
lawyer.
answer becomes self-evident.
Okay. So Sonic or Mario?
Sonic or Mario?
Yeah.
Well, again, when I was really involved in the 8-bit business, um, I thought Sega Genesis was just the bomb. So I actually think the Mario games are better, but my love of Sonic is profound. So, I mean, if it's me personally, I'm going to be Sonic. But if you're
Okay.
asking me which are the better games, I think it's Mario.
Well, I'm asking you, so um
Okay, well, fine, it's Mario. You have no, it's Sonic. Oh my God, what did I do? Oh, geez. Okay, yeah.
solo or co-op mode?
Better co-op mode or what?
Or solo. So
Oh,
single.
solo. Oh, solo, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
An inconfessible secret of your game collection. That it's actually a movie collection? That would be a good one.
Yeah, that's actually, because it's actually a movie collection. Oh, it's like huge. It's I've been working on. Well, no, here's the thing. I'll tell you this. So with games, when I'm done, I'm done. I don't need them on my shelf. I don't need
Oh,
to have them on display. When I've played my game, I'm done. Movies, I'm never done.
really?
I mean, I'll watch. I've watched some movies 15 times. Others, I want the movie just because they're really hard to find, and if I want to watch it, I want to be able to watch it. It's my hobby. It's
Interesting.
my hobby. So, and I've got like over 1,500 of those. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that opens a whole new discussion. But I promise that that was it. That this
For
was a
another time. Yeah,
short list
exactly.
questions.
Okay.
We'll compile a new list of questions. And then see you again sometime soon, hopefully. And
Probably.
thank you very
Yes.
much for your time and joining me in this conversation and today. And thank you so much. As always, it's such a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I love you. I love the company. We love you. We love the company. And as the saying goes, we will continue.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
So that was it for today. Thank you very much, guys and girls, and have a good one. See you soon.